Hello everyone, and welcome to what will likely be the first video on my channel. My name is John. Welcome to the Sports Advocate. I will primarily be focusing on the NFL, NBA, and NHL, everything that kind of revolves around it, trades, free agency, rumors, anything major. Examples of that, like in the extra part, would be like Deshaun Watson stuff. I don't know if I'd go into that just because I don't know as much about it, and that's more of like a political kind of law stuff. But if anything came up, for example, things such as like the Ray Rice incident or the whole John Gruden stuff, all that stuff, I'd dive into that a little bit. For the most part, though, I'll probably be sticking to my favorite teams for, like, as you can see, Chargers in the NFL, my hat, Chicago Bulls of the NBA, and the Vegas Golden Knights of the NHL, just because I feel like I know the most about those because I've been a longtime fan of all of them since I was born and or with the Knights case when they first started. I just love the community that surrounds them, and I'd love to build a community where everyone has their videos that they can come to the channel for, or all. I love that too. But like having Chargers fans, Bulls fans, Knights fans, sports fans in general having their own section of the community, or just all being a part of this big community. And by big, I literally big for me could be like 100 people. Obviously, I'd want more. That'd be great. That'd be a dream. But I mean, even just like 100 people, you watch my videos and you just joke around with me in the comments and we communicate. Hey, I'd love to see this. I would love that bouncing back and forth. But for me, this has always been something I've wanted to do. Just sports talk, like chatting on the computer, chatting in the comments, just like a bunch of buddies, pretty much. That's what I've always wanted to talk about sports. Always wanted to do YouTube. So I figured, why not just do it now? Why keep waiting? There's never going to be a perfect opportunity. Free agency starts tomorrow, technically the tampering period. So I just figured, why not force myself to do it? If it turns out like doo doo, so be it. I'll learn. Great. So feel free to leave criticisms in the comments. Tell me what's good, what's bad. If everything's bad, tell me everything's bad. What to improve, mic quality, camera, things of that nature. Go ahead, feel free. I'd love for this to be a great like pastime for me and to just have like a bunch of friends pretty much in the comments. I'd love that. So anything that will get more people to come through, more friends to join the community, that would be great. And I'd really appreciate any form of criticisms or anything put down in the comments. The like button, the dislike button, do the same thing. So feel free to stick around as long as you want. If my voice bothers you, go ahead and click off. No harm, no foul. And if you really like what's going on, then stick around as long as you want, and I really appreciate it. So this video, as you can see, we'll be talking about Chargers free agency strategies, off season, all that stuff. Primarily the offense, well, strictly the offense, just because with free agency starting tomorrow, and I just gave myself no time, I figured I'd stick with the offense because it's just a little easier, I'd say, because the defense is so up in the air right now, especially with all the rumors. I mean, you got Akeem Hicks, J.C. Jackson, Fletcher Cox, Stefan Gilmore. I mean, all these names, Tyrann Mathieu, all these names that are linked, and that's just a lot of information. And I wanted to stick with one side of the ball so I didn't have like a 45-minute first video. So we're just gonna do the offense, and let's get right into it. No need to waste any more time. First things first, who did we re-sign? Why did we re-sign them? Mike Williams, biggest name obviously for us. His contract is 3 years, $60 million. Excuse me. He had a $14 million cap hit for this year, $7 million of that being the signing bonus. If you guys don't know how that works, He had a $21 million signing bonus, so that will get spread out as a guarantee money throughout the full length of the contract. So 3 years divided 21 divided by 3, you got 7. So each year he's going to have $7 million. So there's nothing. I really do enjoy this contract. The only other thing was everyone was saying, hey, go get Devontae Adams. He's going to cost more, obviously. We saw him get tagged by the Packers anyway, so the chance of it actually occurring wouldn't have changed. So it's a good thing we did sign Mike. If there was a chance that he somehow slipped free agency, which I don't think there was with Rodgers returning, I still think Mike is better for us because what he brings compared to Adams. Adams, phenomenal red zone threat. I mean, almost 20 touchdowns some seasons. Just great. Always catching the ball. Always. But we got Keenan. They run similar roles. I mean, I just think big body Mike, 50-50 ball, go get it when you need it. I think he brings more than what Adams could have strictly to this team and what they need. Last year he hit 1,000+ yards. I want to say it was like 1,150. 2018 he had another 1,000+ yards with Philip Rivers. So it's not a 1-year wonder. Averaged 15.1 yards per catch and 9 touchdowns. Again, you could argue if he's wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 with Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen might get moved to the slot, so technically speaking, I guess he'd be wide receiver 1. But 9 touchdowns is good no matter what. You don't really expect a touchdown a game from most wide receivers. I mean, you don't even expect it from Devontae Adams, and he's done it before. So I think there's no problems with Mike Williams coming back. I personally really enjoy it. I was worried that we are going to lose Mike. There's not many people like him. Even if you go to the draft, you got to worry. You don't know what they're going to be like in the NFL. So I think this is a great option. I think he's going to continue to improve, especially with his age. 27, 28, 29 is normally like when you're hitting your peak as a wide receiver. And I think he's got a lot in the tank to improve. Other re-signs, we got Donald Parham and Jalen Guyton. Both good options. Donald Parham, great. I don't know if I'd say great, but he's a really, really good tight end for us. I could easily see him becoming a tight end 1 with the right opportunities surrounding him. Sad to see him go down with the injury last year, but from the looks of it, he's returning nice. There shouldn't be any long-term injuries. Jalen Guyton, another guy, young guy, whom I like. Pretty speedy guy, not the fastest, but oftentimes every couple of weeks you see him getting that beautiful deep ball from Justin Herbert tossed his way, get a 60, 70-yard touchdown. You love to see it, and I think he can still improve. I think his route running got better last year. He's quick. I think he could quickly become someone like Tyrell Williams, where he goes to a different team and becomes the wide receiver 1 or 2 for a couple years on a really good team. I'm happy that we brought him back and we didn't let him walk. I think all 3 of these signings were great signings. I'm happy with all of them. I'm really excited for Mike coming back. I think he has a lot. I hope Donald Parham and Jalen Guyton continue to improve and we get him for a contract long term. So this is all great. Next thing we'll move on to, we got cuts and walks. Not sure what the photo was doing there. As you can see, we got Brian Balaga over here on the right side of your screen. I think we cut him. Sucks because I was a big fan when we did sign him a couple years back. But he always gets injured for us. And I don't know if that's I don't know if that's a scheme problem, if we're putting him in bad situations, or what was happening. But with how many games he's missed, I just think you got to cut him. Cut your losses, get some more money towards the cap, especially with this big free agency pool. You want to improve that defense. I think there's some better options out there anyways. So I think you got to cut him for the money. And another one, I got Joshua Kelly. I think he was a great young possible talent. Looks like he's not quite turning out. The dude's always got a smile on his face. He has a great story. making his way D1 and all that, just fighting through adversity. But you cut him, you save a little bit of money, and I could see it being worth it just because his first couple weeks in the league, he looked really good, and then his fumble issues came up. You just don't want to have that, especially at a wide or running back 2, where no one really stamped their foot down. Justin Jackson, Joshua Kelly, none of them. Kalen Balaj. You just, especially with the free agents that you got right now, I think you can get a better running back 2. I don't know why I keep saying wide receiver. Running back 2 for it'd be more money, obviously, but just someone who really is clearly that RB2 instead of having people bounce in and out. So I think you could cut him, just get a little bit of money. A couple walks here. We got Steven Anderson and Jared Cook. Jared Cook, great vet. Didn't expect him to stay more than his 1-year contract. I'm fine with him walking. Steven Anderson too. I think my favorite part about him was his hair. If I'm if I'm being honest, he's not bad. But I mean, you could let him walk. There's other options. Tight ends got a lot of vet options. For me, I hope all of these guys find a way to turn around, especially Joshua Kelly. I think he could have a bright future still in the right scheme. I hope they find a way to make it work, but I don't think the Chargers is where you find a way to make it work. Next up, we got free agency, just talking about it. Tampering period, which is 2 days, starts tomorrow, Monday, March 14th. Tampering doesn't really make any sense to me anymore. But we're going to see people get signed. Ian Rappaport is going to say, oh, this guy signed for this amount to this team, waiting on contract signing or whatever. So free agency starts on March 16th. That's when people can technically sign. But we'll be seeing people sign tomorrow at whatever, noon, 2 o'clock, whatever, depending on where you're at. So we're going to see all the moves starting here Monday, and then it actually occurs on Wednesday. So just wanted to explain that to anyone that didn't really know. I'm excited. I think there's a lot of things going to happen, and I hope we make some big splashes. I saw a stat somewhere. I was on Twitter. I don't remember who said it. I probably should have screenshotted it so I could remember. But there was a thing. It was like whatever team spends the most money in free agency over the past like 5 years has won 3 more games than the previous year, which is just great news. So you hope the Chargers go do it, and you hope that that's a stat that just continues to prosper. But, I mean, even if they don't spend the most or whatever, that's still a good thing to see that free agency does work out for teams when you spend a lot of money on it. So the first thing that I want to target for position-wise is going to be the O-line. So first things first, we got Odeo Bushi. Probably just butchered his last name. 1 to 2 million per year. He was in the scheme already last year. I think he looked pretty good. He's a good swing. And for me, even if I think we do sign him, I'd love to see him come back. He wasn't super flashy or anything like that. He just held it down. He looked good when he was out there, and if anything, he becomes a great depth piece. Everyone knows who he is, so I won't stick to him too long. Next up, we got Trent Brown. Injury risk. Don't want to see another Brian Bulaga situation. It's tough now that we've had that. And we had Chris Harris, who got injured too after we signed him. It's just kind of hard for me now as a Chargers fan to get like hyped up for people that get injuries. Just very worrisome. Don't want to see another Brian Bulaga. But he would be a major upgrade if he is healthy. I think he missed 8 games last year, but when he was playing that back half of the season, he looked like one of the top tackles in the league, right tackles in the league. And if he stays healthy and he comes to Chargers, I think Chargers O-line easily becomes one of the best in the league. And by best, I normally refer to like a top 10. Next up, we got Connor Williams. Got a right guard. He's my personal favorite. Young dude, 24 years old. I easily could see him being a future star. He's been looking good, improving, consistently looks good in passing and the running. $7 million per year, I think, over for 4 years. So looking around 28, 30 million, somewhere in that. Depends on signing bonus, things of that nature. I think that'd be a great upgrade. Another thing is with him playing on one of the better O lines in the league, you kind of got to worry um, if he looked better because of the O line or if he himself is actually good. But just from seeing him strictly trying to look at his one on ones, things of that nature, I think he looked very promising and very good. And with our team, we got Corey Linsley and Slater on the other side and all that stuff. I think even if your worry is that he's playing on a good team, he's still going to be on a good O line now. So he shouldn't downgrade any. I think he improves. So Chargers picking up Connor Williams would be a good one. He is my personal favorite. I do hope they go get him. Money wise is the only thing if they decide they want to go cheaper or draft, especially with Slater just being how great that he was. Maybe they're like, oh, we think we can find somebody in the draft. I'd be fine with that. Another one, we got James Daniels. Oh my God, Daniels. Sorry about that. He's been improving every year he's been in the league. He could easily become a solid starter for pretty much any team. This is him pictured over here on your right side of your screen. He's on the Bears, which is a big reason why a lot of people aren't really seeing him just because they've been bad. So, their QB talent with Justin Fields, he can become great, but since he was a rookie and the rest of the team built around him wasn't great, it kind of makes him not look as good just because the rest of the team was doing bad. But I could easily see him being a solid starter for most teams, especially this Chargers team at right guard. 7 to 8 million a year. I was saying 3 to 4 years. I think he'd be a very formidable spot fill. I got a couple other names over here for other options that I couldn't quite fit on this slide. We got Morgan Moses. He's a little bit older. Good option though. Dennis Kelly. He's cheap. I'd say he's like an Oday Obushi. 1 to 2 million a year. Cheaper dude. I would actually like to see them pick him up if they weren't to bring back Oday. Even if they were at that price, I think he looks good and he could be a very good depth because we need depth. That's my biggest thing, especially with Brian Balaga getting some depth, getting some swing O lineman. I'd love to see that. Um, Another one, Jermaine Ofetti. That'd be my fill if they let O'Day walk. Then we got Riley Reef. Um, Definitely said that last name wrong. Great depth again, swing tackle. Love to see that. And then finally, there's some rumors of Collins from Dallas Cowboys possibly moving. I don't know how much they'd want. They offered for him to give him permission to look for drafts. And I heard rumors. I think it was Ian Rappaport. I know Ian Rappaport reported that Dallas gave him permission. I think he also reported that they might release him if they don't get a draft. Or not a draft. Get a trade. He's looking at 15.25 million a year, which is a little bit. It is a lot of bit spendy, and I don't know if I'd be willing to go all in. But with the way the Chargers are making moves, excuse me, I wouldn't be surprised, especially with the Khalil Mack trade for Khalil Mack. I love that trade, like very much. Joey Bosa is getting big help from that. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they could snag him from something a little cheaper since they're gonna release him anyways. Like Amari Cooper, what was it, a fifth and a traded or a flipped sixth, just because they're about to release him and helped him with the cap. So maybe if something like that happens, I don't see it happening this short term now though. Before free agency, so that's one thing, but I think that'd be a big upgrade. Don't know if I'd see that. My favorite person on here is probably Connor Williams, and I'd love to see O'Day come back, and maybe like a Kelly or Jermaine Ofetti be some other good people for like some depth or just anything in general. We need some depth. That's my biggest worry if you want to be a championship team is making sure that you get depth on your team. Otherwise, you get a couple injuries and you're out of it now because you're light on one side of the line. Next up, we got running backs. The biggest one is for me is Cordell Patterson, and there is links to the Chargers. I saw somewhere that he liked a comment about like Patterson to the Chargers. I saw it. I don't know if that really means a whole lot. We see stuff like that all the time. I mean, Kyler Murray just removed the Cardinals from his Instagram, so that's not a huge thing. And money's the biggest thing that talks. For the most part, though, Cordell Patterson, he's great at everything. Um, I mean, you can consider him a quote unquote wide back like Deebo Samuel. Just he can move around. I think he opens up the offense a lot too for some of those like swing routes, some more screens, things like that. I think Austin Eckler is phenomenal already, and I think Cordell would be a great RB2. Plus, the biggest thing for me is he's a bigger body. I want to say he's like 6'3", something around that. Don't quote me on that, but I think that would help us get between the tackles, which is the biggest weakness I'd say for Eckler. Eckler's so shifty, but he's short, and I think Cordell Patterson being able to still be that power back, but also very explosive, could be very helpful, and he could help on the return. And he's looking at about $6 million a year. I think it's a short-term contract because of what he's capable of. He might be able to insert himself into RB1 on certain teams. So I think it's just a 1 year, $6 million, 1 to 2 years, something of that nature. Next up, I got Sony Mitchell from the Rams. Good inside runner, power back. This is exactly what I'm looking for. $4 million a year, 1 to 3 years. I'd probably see more in like the 2 year than either the 1 or 3. But I could see the Chargers with the money they have now doing a short or a longer term. The big thing for me is Austin Eckler and Melvin Gordon. When they were together, that running back duo looked great, and Melvin sort of fit that power back scheme a little more. So that would be my hope with Sony Michel, is having Austin as the clear RB1 and Sony Michel as that power back that you need on those short down thirds, things of that nature. Next up, we got Chase Edmonds, a great young talent, good zone runner, similar to Justin Jackson, I'd probably say. Only thing is he's smaller in size. He's under 6 foot, so now you got two shorter dudes as your running backs. Not a lot of power running. That's a little bit of a worry again, but $6 million a year, probably about 3 years. A little bit more in Sony Michel. I think Sony Michel could get more than 4. I could see Sony Michel getting up to 6, but gosh, Chase Edmonds, I think he could be a great young talent, and I'd like me a power back. But if you could somehow get a good cheaper power back that you are confident in, and then have a Chase Edmonds, I would be very happy with that. The one quick thing is you might be asking why get a running back in free agency, and I'd say that's because the draft for the Chargers running backs lately has just not turned out. I mean, I'm suggesting we cut Kelly. We just drafted him 2 years ago. And Kalen Ballage, we drafted last year. He looked good early, and then he kind of faded away. So I think bringing in an older, almost veteran-esque running back might be a good option at this point, unless you see someone in like the 3rd round that was really worth it. But even at, or the 4th round, I mean, even at that, I think it'd be better to get in free agency and not to wait on it until the draft. Next up, the wide receivers and tight ends. So let me preface this real quick. The first one I got up here is Gronk. We're gonna run through this real quick. Great run blocking, obviously. My idea was get it similar to Gates, where we had him his last year. He was just primarily like that kind of, I'll get us some run blocking a little bit, and then like a really short pass right here in that red zone, stuff like that. He's a great red zone threat. I figured he'd be about $7 to $8 million a year. But as I am recording this, news broke that Tom Brady is unretiring, so pretty much wiped Gronk off this list now because I think Gronk's going to go back, similar to how they just re-signed Tom Brady's center. So I think Gronk goes back. Gronk was linked to the Chargers a little bit because Tom Brady was going to go record a movie for, I think it was like the Falcon Super Bowl. He's recording a movie or something for it in LA. But with Tom returning, I think Gronk follows him just because Gronk came out of retirement for the Buccaneers with Tom. I think Tom coming out of retirement, Gronk's going to follow him. Next up, I got Zach Ertz. Oh boy, looking at $10 million a year, a little bit more than Gronk, but he always looked good on the Eagles. I mean, he was huge for them in the Super Bowl. They ended up trading him or releasing. I don't remember. I think they traded him. Yeah, they traded him to the Cardinals, and he did look good with them. Obviously, not the Zach Ertz of old, but I could if you can get him for 8 to 10, I wouldn't be upset at it. And the major reason for that, and that was my reason for Gronk, is being able to have Parham heal and be able to develop behind a veteran. I think that would be a big help for him, give him time to heal and learn. So I think Zach Ertz is the option right there if you want a veteran, just because Gronk's probably going to return to the Buccaneers. I don't know why he wouldn't. Only thing would be their money. I don't know what their money looks like now with the re-signing of their center and Tom coming back. I think Gronk follows him though, so I think Zach Ertz is a good option. And finally, OJ Howard, also Buccaneer, $2 million a year. I think a short 1 year prove it deal. He looked good, and then he just got washed under the bridge when all the Tom stuff happened. Gronk came over, all that stuff. He became like the third, almost fourth tight end sometimes. But he's young, and I think he could. I think he could become a good pairing with Parham, Don Parham. And I think if you can get him for a cheap, like 2 million, 3 million, even 4. I don't know about 4, but on a prove it deal, I think it's good, especially for 1 year. Chargers got so much money. They got even more next year. And I'd like to see OJ Howard or Ertz. I think I wouldn't be upset with anyone else. I definitely have missed people in free agency. That's on me. But I think most of the tight end and wide receiver market got wiped with all these pre-signings, like the team signing their player back, like how Mike did. Like David Njoku was one of my guys, but he got brought back, which sucks. Lastly, the receivers. I don't think we need anyone in free agency personally. Not because there's not good options. I mean, I think OBJ goes back to the Rams. I don't know about Allen Robinson, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Jarvis Landry is talking about possible trades, stuff like that. But I don't think we need to bring anyone in because we got Mike and Keenan, and I loved how Joshua Palmer looked. I think it was a great pickup. Preseason, he looked good. And when we needed him, he looked good. He caught touchdowns. He looked good. I think you let him develop. He only had 1 year. My only thing is if someone falls in the draft. But other than that, I don't think you need to pick anyone up for your wide receivers and tight ends. Or for wide receivers and tight ends, I think you maybe get a vet, maybe draft somebody late, or if you find someone early that you think, and maybe OJ Howard. That's my opinion for the wide receivers and tight ends, though. And so that's the end of my spiel right here. I really think that the Chargers can make a big splash this offseason, not only on offense, but also on defense. I'll go over defense just quickly right now. Just a preface, I wanted to do a defensive video, but with what time it is now, and I have to make sure that this video gets out because I need to push myself because otherwise I'm never going to. I'd love to see J.C. Jackson. A bunch of rumors came out this past day of him coming over. I would love a J.C. Jackson, just a really good cornerback. Move Asante Samuel into the slot. I heard rumors of that, or out. I don't really care. There's a couple other options. I heard rumors of Desmond King. We traded him away. I don't think he'd come back, but he'd be a good option. Stefan Gilmore is a good option. I'm blanking on the name right now. The dude that went to the Broncos, traded from the Bears. I'm blanking on the name. Shucks. That sucks. Um, but he'd be a good option. Tyrann Mathieu. There's a couple good options over there from the Chiefs too. I think Chargers can make a big splash. And for the defensive line, personally for me, I'd like to go get a young person. I don't want a really old D line and then it be gone quickly. Khalil Mack's older. Joey Bosa's growing older. He's not old yet. And I mean Fletcher Cox and Akeem Hicks, which Chargers are linked to, are older. I'd like to keep Justin Jones. I think he's going to be more expensive. But I'd like a younger dude there that can learn. And I just think it'd be nice. Even if it's not Jones, maybe go get somebody in the draft. Especially at where we're at, there's been a lot of links of D tackles falling to us. Lastly, linebackers. I love Bobby Wagner. Don't know if it's possible. I heard news of him wanting to return to his hometown, which will be the Rams or the Chargers. Rams coming off a Super Bowl. I don't know if he'd be willing to take a lower amount to go there. I guess we'll see tomorrow. I love a Bobby Wagner. I'd like I don't think Uchenna comes back with Khalil Mack. I like Kaiser White to come back. He led, I think he was first or second in our tackles, which is great. I'd like him to come back. But for the most part, I don't think we need safety. I like Nasir Adderley. I think we can make a big splash. I sure hope we do. And I guess we'll all see tomorrow. So thanks to anyone that decided to stick through with this. This is my first video, and I really appreciate if you did somehow make it to the end. That puts a big smile on my face, and I appreciate it so much. I hope you do leave some sort of criticism down below. But like I said at the top of the show right here, my name is John, and thank you for tuning into this video of the Sports Advocate, and I hope you have a great day. Appreciate you guys sticking through.